You ever have one of those times where you realize that everything that you're doing is all kind of tied to the same issue? For me, it happened just the other day when I was talking to a friend of mine in the mastermind about creating stories and sharing stories within the World Joy movement and beyond. I meet with this friend in the mastermind on a regular basis, and we were discussing this element of really becoming a skillful storyteller. I explained to him, I said, I'm actually seeing things go really well with the World Joy movement. We've been in this now for 2 weeks so far, and I just cannot wait to go and bring more people in. Now, in order to do this, I feel that the path to really bringing people into a world of joy, especially this vision that most people haven't really experienced, is through story. And we talked about me and my friend had talked about all the different ways that I can really create stories and share them out in the world. The problem was I wasn't that great at sharing stories. I wasn't that great at constructing and structuring the stories. I could talk for sure, and I knew that there was a story involved, but most of the time when I began to tell a story, it would meander off in various directions. There wasn't really any drama or tension that kept someone in the conversation or in the story itself. And the moral or the point of the story was actually came about in a very circuitous way. And so I was talking to my friend and just saying like, hey, I have within me hundreds of stories that I want to get out into the world. But I also know that if I start recording these stories as they currently are, I'm going to, I might have hundreds of stories that just aren't all that good being out into the world. Why would I want to scale something that isn't working? That was a fundamental question. Why would I want to scale something that isn't working? I should go figure it out first. And once I figure it out, then go and bring it out into the world. The problem was that I also wanted, the movement was live. We were out in the midst of it all. And there were people who were joining conversations that were joining the World Joy Movement platform. And there is a feeling of anticipation of, what's going to happen next? What should we be doing? And it felt that there was a need for me to show up and let them like continue to both grow the movement and to be very actively involved in the movement. And then there was also this feeling that I was underskilled in terms of being able to lead it from a story perspective and to bring people in from that. And my friend, he heard this and he heard me talk. It's really powerful to have a coach, someone or a third party in your life that can just listen to what you're saying and be able to distill out the truth and the golden nuggets in it all. And he said to me, he said, I was listening and I was smiling throughout this entire time. It took a bit to not just jump in earlier. I'm hearing that there's a lot of great things that are being created in the World Joy movement and that you're feeling good about things and that you have these stories that you want to go out and share in the world. And I'm going to give you two options of it. Option one is that you can spend some time in isolation and work on the story alone to craft it to the highest level that you think you can, and then go out and deliver that story. Or option two, you can tell the story and then either tell the same story again, but iterate and make it better, or go and tell the next story, but learn from what you had done in the story beforehand. And it was, for me, it was this really, really simple like decision. Decision one felt like it was, the option one felt like it was shrouded in isolation, shrouded with me kind of working on my own and trying to figure it out alone. Option two actually provided this level of transparency, and in the tech world they'll call shipping, like the result was actually delivered out to the world, and I could have the opportunity for feedback, for conversation, for just some real world way of continuing to grow this, almost like as though people viewing or not viewing it were also a part of the creation process. And for me at that moment, it became really clear. Co-creation is a very high value of mine. And to be able to sit there and realize that there was a way of co-creating this together really lit me up. And as I was saying that, as I realized, I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, I can go forth and I can just put it out there and just make sure I'm spending the time to iterate and learn. I realized something there. And I told my friend, I said, actually, what we're talking about right now is showing up in at least 3 different ways within the rest of my business and the way that I'm approaching the movement altogether. It's showing up in in deciding what new conversations should be brought together. It's showing up in the way that I'm choosing to lead the movement overall, and it's showing up in just the way that I'm showing up online. It's showing up in I'm using the word show up a lot, so I'm trying to find a different word for it. You could see the impact of it in the videos that were online, as well as the lack of presence that I had in talking about the movement in as many places as I could, because there was a part of me that needed to figure it out first. And the interesting thing here was when I started to see the thread line all the way through, the through line that connected everything, I realized that in most of the places where I'm feeling discomfort, I can have a smile, but even here, even while I was surveying what we had accomplished over the last 2 weeks, it was still done alone in the office. And I realized that is not what this movement is about. This movement is about us coming together. And it dawned on me as we were talking that, well, actually, I wish I could say it dawned on me as though it was like a lightning strike. It was actually just like an exasperated sigh. It's like outspiration. It's like came out. I was like, you know what? Like, I just wish I didn't have to figure this whole thing out alone. Like, I'm just like, let's just figure this out together. And in that moment, a spark came up. Let's figure this out together. I was like, that feels really good. That feels like, what is this? What is the this? What is the this that we're figuring out? I'm like, ultimately, let's figure out how to create a world of joy. And that there, in that conversation, became the clarity that I was looking for. The clarity of how to bring all this together and actually change the way that we approached things here in the World Joy movement. In fact, my friend said, hey, you're a coach. Figuring things out in real time, that's one of the core components of coaching. And I realized that here, that's a fun for me. That's joyful. It's just like, let's see what we can make. Let's see what we can make together here. And I want to bring that spirit both into the World Joy movement and also offer that element of being able to see some of the challenges that we're facing and seeing where the through lines lead. Because if we're able to see that challenge fully, we might be able to go off and come up with a more comprehensive solution for it all. For me, the comprehensive solution was to stop trying to figure things out alone. Stop it. just no, don't do it. Instead, give opportunity for us to come together and figure it out together. And so that's what we're doing. And I invite you to come join us in our next World Joy movement conversation. You can go to beworldjoy.com to find it, or if you're already on the platform and watching this, go over to the events tab to see what our upcoming conversations are. And let's figure this thing out together. Let's figure out how do we create a world of joy together. I'm excited for all that. Talk to you soon. It's the World Joy movement. Yeah. What was your greatest insight from this conversation? And if you want to come and be a part of a conversation like this live, it's really simple. Just go to beworldjoy.com and come introduce yourself, and let's take the conversation to the next level, because you're there now. All right, let's play.